What's going on, Cantina patrons? He's Darth Paul, I'm Padawan Dave.
And welcome to the Mudhorn Cantina.
Alrighty, Cantina patrons, so today's video was going to be a mid-season review of The Acolyte. I mean, we're still going to somewhat review the show, I suppose, but we're also going to have a discussion about all of the hate, the anger, the suffering, traits of the dark side, I might add, that some of the Star Wars fanbase actually have with the show, and whether it's warranted or not. And I mean, for me personally, it's a no. I had a look at some of the scores on like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, and the if you look at shows like Andor, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, there's so many less reviews than there are for The Acolyte. And so like the, what do they call it on Rotten Tomatoes? You're either fresh or not fresh or whatever it is. I don't really follow. I don't think you do either.
No, I've never really looked at those things that closely. I like to kind of stand back and watch it and make my own judgments and things.
Exactly.
I don't even really read reviews or try and watch stuff on YouTube beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's the sad thing, because they do still have an effect in the industry, both in movies, TV shows, video games. I mean, I'm playing that Skull and Bones at the moment, which like got 5 out of 10 with most things. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So you can't really always go on what everybody else says. You need to make a judgment call for yourself. And the thing is, I can't remember where it was. Did it have like 15% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
And I think IMDb, it's like 3.5, and you're like, it's not a 1 or a 3 out of 10 show. Is it a 10 out of 10 show? No, of course it's not. But we're in this realm now where if anything below a 9 out of 10 is now crap, and it's like, what? That's insane. Like 10 out of 10 is a masterpiece. You shouldn't have many 10 out of 10s in this world.
Yeah, especially we're in the kind of golden era of TV, I suppose, these days. Like everything is being much more focused on television than movie to some degree. Maybe not so much, but I think it started a while back, and obviously you're now seeing big name actors appearing in TV shows and things like that.
Yeah, it's been going on. Like, I think the golden age of TV's lasted so long. You'd argue like 24 and The Sopranos and The Wire kind of started it, and those shows were like 24, 25 years ago now. And like you said, though, all of these big name actors, like True Detective, I feel was one of the first ones when like Woody and McConaughey came in.
Yeah, you actually see a real kind of crossover of talent to the small screen, essentially. Is it
the silver screen, isn't it? I think. But yeah, it's that aspect of storytelling, I feel, as well. In a movie, you've got maybe 2, 3 movies are getting longer. It seems in this day and age, but with a TV series, you've got that story over a longer time period. But
you can evolve the characters, and I think a lot of it is somewhat that in TV is that you can't jump to conclusions too early when the thing isn't finished. Yeah,
that's the thing. I think like most of this anger and hatred seem to stem from that 3rd episode, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a few sort of minutes, 5-6 minutes or so. But yeah, it's like the story's barely been told at all. And people were saying it's the death of Star Wars. Or they're obviously saying like Disney have killed Star Wars. And I just want to point out, we're not Disney defenders by any stretch of the imagination. We were not. Well, I don't necessarily want to speak for you, but we've spoken before, so I think we share generally similar beliefs that the sequel trilogies were disappointing.
Yeah,
I think like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi as movies by themselves were decent. They were decent movies.
Yeah, I think it was the whole storyline and the whole sort of overarching story that just didn't seem to have any kind of...
Rise of Skywalker was like, that was disappointing. But it was the connection. It's like Last Jedi threw everything that The Force Awakens did out the window, and then Rise of the Skywalker did the same. There was just no continuity, if we can put it that way.
Exactly. But I mean, I still very much like the actors themselves. Maybe not the characters as much, but the kind of additional world building and seeing all the new the models and starships and stuff like that was just incredible. But you'd expect that from Star Wars.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, the look has always been there. Yeah. I don't think anyone, even the diehard, original trilogy people who nothing but the OT is great.
Yeah.
I don't think they can even deny that some stuff... Look, there's always going to be CGI issues. I think we've seen that with Marvel movies as well. Some of those CGI things have been a bit like, okay, that could have looked better for sure. Some of it's been a little bit dodgy. But But yeah, kind of shifting the focus, I guess, back to the Acolyte. Or, well, if we take Disney though, still there's still been good projects. I mean, The Mandalorian, everyone loved the first 2 seasons. Was the third season as good? It wasn't, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then we've had Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, and I think we've said ourselves, like, we thought they were decent, but they could have been better. So we're definitely not Disney defenders, but this hatred that the Acolyte has had, especially after, well, it was after 3 episodes. We've now had a 4th episode as well that we watched earlier today. I think it came into the US like last night. We always get it sort of early morning the next day, which is also annoying. That's the one thing I would hate about Disney. We used to actually get it at like a good time, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Like we almost used to get it
like, or sort of evening.
Yeah, which would have been fair enough, super early time, in the States and whatever. But it was always nice for us. We'd at least get to watch it in a good time period and avoid spoilers and things like that, which you can't necessarily do at the moment. But yeah, I look at it and I'm like, this is a developing story. It's a developing show. Do I even think at this point it's a 7 out of 10 show? So I went back to say like 10 out of 10 is a masterpiece. 9 out of 10 is like very good. It's great. 8 out of 10 is good, very, very good. A 7 is like good, solid. And then like a 6 and a 5, it's like decent, it's average. And I think like 4 and below that's kind of where you're getting into the realms of that's disappointing, that's poor, that's abysmal.
Yeah.
This show is not a 1 or a 2 out of 10. At this point in time, it's like maybe a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
It's decent. It's average. What is the big issue that people have? Well, if you go and look on social media and things, we kind of know some of the issues. We do welcome the discussion from you guys as well in the comments section below. The things I just see are this show is shit. This show is dog shit. This show is crap, blah, 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 but they're not offering any like reasons why.
Yeah, it's just are too many people just seeing what everybody else is seeing and just commenting on top of it, or are they actually forming their own opinion?
Yeah.
Is
it signal virtual, or what's that thing where everyone kind of jumps on the bandwagon?
Yeah, I don't really know the term, but I know there's been a few cases of it recently where various things have been kind of covered on the internet from various professors and other things.
And actually, I kind of think I veered a little bit off topic earlier. I was mentioning with like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb that the ratings on the Acolyte are like, there's significantly much more reviews and ratings than there were for those other shows.
Compared to the other shows?
Yeah, Mandalorian, Andor, Ahsoka have all been out longer, especially Andor and the Mandalorian. And there's like, I think Andor had something like 5,000 reviews or something, and there's like more than 10,000 for the Acolyte. And I think even the Mandalorian and Ahsoka were like 2,500, 3,000. So you're like, if you're like saying there's no review bombing going on, I'm sorry, that's a load of crap. It's definitely review bombing, and it's people will say our review bombing is just because someone you absolutely hate the product and it's just you're not giving it the chance, and that is what it is. It's not even constructive criticism or feedback.
Yeah, especially if you're just saying something shit. Like,
I don't like that.
What do you not like about it? What is the issues? I mean, obviously some people have gone into detail, especially about episode 3, and kind of talked about what they might consider, is it woke? Or...
Yeah. I mean, let's get into episode 3 then. That's like was the big kind of how should we describe it? That's where a lot of the hatred kind of seemed to stem from. I think the first 2 episodes, people were like, okay, yeah, it's decent-ish, it's a bit slow.
Yeah, I mean, I still quite enjoyed the sort of intro part to that, the whole kind of seeing the Jedi in that era.
Yeah.
It's like a different time. Obviously, I've kind of read quite a few of the High Republic books.
Which I haven't. But
so I kind of... It's good to kind of finally see that in film, fair enough, or on screen, if it's only the kind of end part of that era. But it's kind of interesting to see the whole kind of detective type thing, or like the case and them off on a mission. I just, being a kind of person who also loves police procedurals, kind of that sort of stuff appealed to me a bit.
Yeah, I thought the premise, like when the trailer came out at Celebration, or that first announcement or whatever, like people seemed really excited. and I for sure feel the premise was pretty good. It's slightly this darker Jedi detective story. Now, like when earlier I said I'd probably give the show like a 5 or 6 out of 10 at this point, I would say the reason for that is that the characters are not so memorable for me at the moment. I kind of struggle like who's who.
Yeah, I kind of struggled the same with Andor for some reason.
Exactly.
Like to actually remember the characters' names.
Yeah, you know Andor because he's the lead in the show. But yeah, I agree. Everyone else, I was like, oh, who was this person again, or who was this person?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
like you recognise the key people, but I still couldn't tell you all of their names at this point.
But that's the crazy thing. Andor has this like love sort of. Everyone says it's like the best thing. Well, there's even some people saying it's not Disney. It's the is it Tony Gilroy?
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, that's just moving the goalpost. It's a Disney produced product. Tony Gilroy has been hired by Disney to make this show or whatever. It's like, don't move the goalpost saying, no, that's not a Disney product. I think some people tried to do the same with Rogue One as well. It's like, no, it's not a Disney product. It's Gareth Evans. Or is it Evans? Or
Edwards.
It's Edwards. Yeah, Gareth Evans is the other guy.
Yeah. But I think the concept for Rogue One, I think, may have been penciled before Disney.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think
it kind of sat within Lucasfilm for a fair few years, I think. But obviously they still brought it to production.
But it's still that's what I kind of find funny is if it's good, the creators made that good, not Disney. And if it's bad, it's Disney who made it. It's like, come on, there's got to be some common ground here. Again, not Disney defending because there's been some disappointments for sure with Star Wars. But yeah, that's the thing with like going back to Andor. I'm like, so I can't understand the hate that this show gets at the moment. But I personally, and look, everyone can have their own opinion. You can hate a show. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't hate something. I think hate's a very strong word. We've always been pretty easygoing.
Yeah, and quite relaxed. I mean, I kind of feel like, I've never really, don't think I've ever said I've hated something.
No.
I just don't know if that's just a different view on life or different upbringing or just being too relaxed.
It probably sounds incredibly cheesy, but the one thing I hate is hate. Yeah. It's like, it's stupid. Like, why? You almost don't hate someone because of like where they've come from or this or that. You hate them for surely something they've done to you personally,
Yeah.
Or maybe to loads of people, like a Hitler or something like that, right?
Like your sworn enemy.
Yeah, but like having a hatred again for a show, that it's got to like I don't know, upset you to your core. And I'm just like, could a TV show or something like a video game or any piece of media, could that do that to me? I feel not. Not to,
I don't think have that much of an emotional effect. I mean, sure, there's been movies I've seen in the past that have actually I've come out of like feel like an emotional sort of thing.
Yeah. One
of them was obviously Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
And the other one was that movie we went to. I actually can't remember who it was. It's going to bug me now. And it's almost like it didn't have an outcome that you were expecting. But
a few like that.
Yeah. That's really going to annoy me now. What was the guy? I can't even remember the actor's name who was in it.
But it's good, like, you touching on that emotional aspect, because for me, that's what, if I watch something, again, TV show, movie, play a video game, read a comic book, watch anime, if I have an emotional response to that, whether it's, it makes me laugh, it makes me cry, it makes me happy, it makes me sad, yes, there could be elements of anger. I think anger, if the filmmaker's purpose is for you to be angry, then they've kind of succeeded. If it's like, I don't think The Acolyte is trying to make us angry, right? It's not trying to make you hate it.
Yeah, so I mean, you can kind of argue that people reckon that there's agendas behind all of these things and things, and is it, or are people just trying to tell a story that they've constructed? You're never going to know unless somebody comes out and admits, I'm actually trying to do this. But
exactly, yeah. I mean, look, I don't think we can deny there's an element of diversity hires that have been going on in Disney. I would say, though, if it bothers you that much, that's more an issue with you than anything else. Like, so what that the live action Ariel was a black woman, like, and like, what difference does that really make? Is someone getting upset just because they're changing past history, they're changing, I don't know. To me, that doesn't really bother me so much, as long as the story's good and the show is entertaining, or the movie, whatever, is entertaining. I really couldn't give a crap about, is the character gay? Is the character trans? Is the character black, white, Asian, brown, whatever? Like, and I don't know if that's I feel we grew up in a pretty diverse area, I suppose, anyway.
Yeah, and kind of the schools we went to.
Yeah, we grew up on a council estate, which I've never had to describe that for like USB. It's not really the projects, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
But it's like low income,
mass-produced housing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we weren't quite in like a block of flats type thing. We were in like
rough streets. I mean, where it is now, it's very, very clean and upmarket now. They really kind of made it much nicer.
Gentrified, is that the term they use?
Gentrification?
Yeah, sort of thing, where it's all now like fancy restaurants and
hotels are there.
Yeah.
It's all looking kind of really nice. But it's in that central location where it's surrounded by nicer areas.
Yeah, it's right on the River Thames as well, and you've got the docks and things like that.
I mean, we're kind of now going into a Brentford advertising campaign here, so let's kind of get back on track. But yeah, I feel maybe that's why we have that. It's like, I'd probably say a lot of if I had my 7 to 10 friends at school throughout my time period at school, probably 2 were white. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I guess that's what's made me not care so much about that aspect of stuff. But yeah, are they making more diverse hires and things like that? I don't think we can deny that when we've seen it happen a lot, in movies and TV shows. But again, that really is such a bother. That I think that's got honestly something more to do with you than it has necessarily Disney or something like that. If it's a historical character, someone from actual history, that's different. That's a bit silly. Unless you're doing some kind of parody, I think like the like Hamilton, and stuff like that, which was very successful, and that's different. If you're actually telling like a historical story,
and changing events or changing characters,
and I don't know, Idris Elba gets cast as Winston Churchill, that's a bit weird. Again, unless it's a parody, but so if we go back to Andor, and that's the thing, not Andor, the Acolyte, and we were talking about emotional connections and things. I would definitely say I haven't really had much of an emotional connection so far. The first 4 episodes, maybe the end of the 4th episode, I was like, okay, that's
something's happening. It's interesting to see.
We'll get onto that towards the end. Like those first, even the 2nd episode, I actually was starting to doze off towards the end. It was late at night when we watched it.
Yeah, that's true.
But I would still say it was a bit slow. I was a bit like, okay, but I didn't think, this is the worst thing I've ever watched. Like, no.
No, I mean, I still feel like I'm a bit of a child when it comes to Star Wars. I'm still really excited when something new happens, and generally I really did enjoy it. I've kind of felt the tone, the kind of look of everything, the sort of theme, and what do you call it, the actual sound and music, or whatever the terminology is. You know more about that sort of stuff than I do.
The whole filmmaking side,
Yeah,
I mean,
but it felt Star Wars to me.
Like the production, the design, and everything. It for sure it does. It has the good look. The character, like a lot of the thing I see as well, people saying it's poor acting, it's poor writing, because apparently Star Wars was always the epitome of great acting and great writing. I mean, Alec Guinness. If you look at all the people who have been in Star Wars, and maybe being unfair to some, but Alec Guinness would have been, certainly back in those days, the big. I don't want to be disrespectful to like Harrison Ford.
Traditional actor.
like those guys were all new.
Yeah.
Even Harrison Ford had only been in a few things at that time period, and the rest of them were like very young. I think like Carrie Fisher was like 19. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
She was in A New Hope. So he was like traditional. Let's use the word traditional, not proper, because that sounds a little bit horrible and it is a bit detrimental to what likes of Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill have accomplished in their careers. But if you go through like all of the years, what other actors, you know, Liam Neeson maybe, for sure. Samuel L. Jackson.
Your favourite Jedi.
Yeah, Qui-Gon is the best, no question. Best Jedi, I don't, no one can tell me otherwise, I think. But it's never been Oscar-winning actors. Oscar Isaac, again, I think has done some really good stuff, you know, for sure. But you've never had a, I don't know, is Christian Bale? I mean, fair enough, he was in Thor, so he could be in Star Wars. But these films are not made to win Oscars. Maybe production Oscars, but they're not made for acting. They're not made for writing. They're made to like entertain. And what was his whole thing? Was for 12-year-old boys?
Yeah, essentially back in the day, that's what he made them for.
Yeah.
It was like a follow-on from like Flash Gordon and stuff that he'd.
And if you go back and watch and like remove the nostalgia feeling, I've always maintained this. If those original Star Wars movies were made today, people would shit all over them. Because the dialogue is awful. Alec Guinness said so himself.
Yeah, he was very vocal at the time on what he was doing and why was he even here.
The acting is like so, but they are like fairly nice characters who you can get behind. Like the storylines are so basic as well from the original trilogy. It doesn't go into any, you know, trade federation contracts and wars necessarily. Yeah, I suppose there is like a war and a battle going on or whatever, but it doesn't go deeper like maybe the prequel trilogies have done, and then how some of the TV shows have kind of tried to bring more, I guess, societal themes into things. I mean, they did, don't get me wrong, they did exist in the original trilogy. Of course they did.
You just don't see as much of it, I feel.
But I've always maintained if those movies were made today, they would not have that same level, you know, of love and adulation. Is that a good word to use?
Yeah, quite possibly. But then again, if they were made today, would have things been slightly different?
That's the other thing. Yeah, you can never compare yesterday versus today. That's always stupid as well when people kind of say that, because what was then is different now. You can never really compare. Say I will see it in sports. It's like, who's the greatest sports player or football player of all time? Can you compare? The game was so different back then. And people will say, well, can that player now succeed in today's game? Well, that player would be very different in today's game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their diet would be different. Their motivation may be different.
Even changes to the ball and
their
things.
upbringing would be different. So you can't really compare the past to the future. But again, maybe a little bit off topic there. The first two episodes, decent enough. I think the premise is pretty cool. We're kind of learning what's going on. Well, actually, let's go to that very first scene, though, because that did get a little bit of stick from some people with Indara, was it?
Yeah.
Carrie-Anne Moss character. Should say this...
So you remembered her name?
Yeah, I think her name was easy, though. Like some of these, I don't know the Wookiee's name, Ketchupakapaka or something like that. Sound like Inosuke from Demon Slayer now, but... Well, I think some of the name, like, is it Osha and May? Or something like they're the main girls. Osha and it is May, right? And M-A-E. And Master Soul, as well. Like, I think going back to that first scene, I actually thought the fight scene was pretty cool. And when we saw the trailers, people were excited because they were, we're getting like a bit of a Matrix vibe fight scene here.
In Star Wars.
And then, actually, I was just about to say this will obviously contain spoilers. Probably should have mentioned that, but surely that would have been obvious if we're reviewing the mid-season. Then again, people do non-spoiler reviews, I suppose. So.
I guess so. So we'll put it in the title.
This will definitely contain some spoilers. Her death, a lot of people were like, oh, she's killed by like a butter knife or a cheese knife. And I think people were going back to Ahsoka because Sabine obviously got stabbed with a lightsaber. Yeah. And like just kind of shrugged it off a bit. And I agree to an extent, but is that not more a problem with Ahsoka rather than...
Yeah, why didn't Qui-Gon get the same treatment?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people said, but
I think they said like Bacta was only like invented the day later.
Yeah, I've heard the whole Bacta treatment was... Some people have said this, like it wasn't in there, And they were saying Qui-Gon lay there in agony with his insides burning for like 10 minutes because Obi-Wan struggled against Darth Maul a little bit before he then just magically chopped him in half, just kind of like that. I mean, he could have used force speed like they did at the beginning to run through that thing and join. This was the funny joke. But I mean, I didn't mind it. She was defending the barkeep or bartender or whatever he was, using the force, and she got distracted. It's like that.
Yeah, she was distracted and caught off guard, and
that two-way thing. You might say, could she? You know, she should have been able to sense that. I mean, Order 66. How many Jedi sense that coming?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you could look at it with the Jedi. Like, exactly how heightened are their senses when they're in battle? It's obviously they're trained to not really rely on their emotions or have emotional attachments, but maybe not having emotions isn't really the right thing. But no matter what happens, you're going to be distracted by certain things in combat or things going on around you, and she suffered the consequences.
Yeah, protecting someone else. She died a good death, whether it was a noble death. Whether it was a good death. That's another thing, but she died a somewhat noble death. But yeah, I think that was one of the things some people were upset about.
Yeah, because I guess they probably just saw the name Carrie-Anne Moss and hoped she was going to play a more pivotal role.
Yeah, I think
as
she's
a main character
only listed as 2 episodes. I'm not even sure she's going to come back into. But that seems a bit weird because it looks like we may get more flashbacks, like the mother whose name escapes me now. I guess this will lead us into the 3rd episode then. I think she's listed for 6, so we're definitely going to see I mean, we know we are because we haven't seen what actually occurred at the end of that episode. But to rewind a bit to start out with that 3rd episode, I don't know, is it because we've got... Well, we know why there's a lot of hatred. Everyone says that they've destroyed George Lucas's legacy because the Anakin prophecy is no more because we have these 2 girls just born out of the Force. Yes, if you straight away, that's all you saw, and look, but we do not know how these children were born. She says it in the episode.
Well, she said that what you used to create them.
Yeah, I know, like that, again, the character, I can't remember, she carried them.
Yeah, the other mother.
Say something like, if they found out how you create them, so whatever the conversation is. So we don't know, some element of witchcraft, dark magic, cloning. We don't know how these kids
were created.
And God forbid, only one religion can have a goddamn prophecy. It's like, really? There must be thousands of different religions within Star Wars, and tribes.
And different people that believe different things.
Well, even the Force has its different, like the thread, and there's all different how these religions, how these people like perceive the Force.
Yeah, exactly. I think that gets kind of close to the sort of Night Sisters as well.
Yeah.
In terms of, I think that was the same terminology they used. So I don't know if the thread is more something in terms of their use of the Force and their magic. But yeah, there's certainly like other cults and other things that have popped up a bit in Star Wars. There's probably a few more that are covered in the High Republic.
Yeah.
And there's obviously people that believe the Jedi are a front to the Force, that they actually manipulate it, and they're actually therefore damaging it. So it's kind of interesting to see some of these things kind of coming onto screen and expanding that a bit more. I mean, you saw some of it in Rogue One, I suppose we did see some of it as when they're on Jeddah and you kind of see the various kind of factions that used to basically be on Jeddah, and you had all these different groups there that kind of formed almost like a coalition of kind of not always Force sensitive users, but kind of Force protectors, believers.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, almost kind of like, I don't know. No, I was about to say like Greenpeace, but like people who see the Force as Mother Nature, maybe.
Yeah,
and like you get these people who
bending it to their will.
Yeah, and in our real world, it's like, the reason I kind of compare that is like the people who are saying we're destroying too many trees, we're polluting the ocean and things like that. Is that what you meant? Like those guys,
Yeah,
but
kind
more
of thing.
with the Force.
Yeah, that they're by them using the Force, they're destroying something else somewhere else. It's that kind of thing.
I get you.
Because before I actually saw them use the Force in episode 3, I actually thought that's what they were. I thought they were like the hand or the path of the open hand.
Yeah, I remember you saying,
And then obviously she then used the Force herself, and I thought, well, obviously they wouldn't do that.
No.
But I mean, it's possible they could have been an offshoot of that. I haven't actually kept up with the High Republic. In recent times, so the last couple of books I haven't actually kept up with. So it'll be interesting to see where that leads and how that if that even comes into this era.
Yeah, I think another thing as well is that we've had this all kind of female cult. I've seen like space lesbians mentioned, things like that. And again,
but again, is that just an assumption because there were two mothers?
Yeah, I don't know, but
I assumed the term mother was because one of them carried them and the other one kind of created them.
Yeah,
it's not that it's
and his mother also a more religious or tribal term.
Well, that's the other thing, anyway. Because that's used a lot in those kind of which
isn't the whole Force like the mother, the father, that whole thing, like those from Rebels and
the father and the brother and the sister,
and all of that kind of
Mortis
stuff.
gods, Mortis.
I mean, it's just I feel people just go way too much into assumptions and things. I saw when it first came out, so many people were like, "This is the worst piece of Star Wars media that's ever been produced." No, I've not gone back and thought, what actually before that would have been the worst Star Wars media ever produced. Probably some lame video game, excuse me, like way back in the day. I would have thought.
Holiday special?
That's actually one that is, I think, up there in terms
Although
of
technically you could argue that actually wasn't produced by Lucasfilm. It was done by whatever the TV studio was at the time.
But because we only watched that episode a day or two ago, the third one. So we let it kind of I don't know whatever the word. Let it just settle for a bit. Seeing all this hate, and I was like, it kind of made me want to watch the episode more a bit to see, wow, is this really that bad?
Yeah, what actually happens so much that.
And then I was like, I do not understand that hate at all. Like where, why? Again, the prophecy. What a load of crap. That there can be 4 million prophecies in the world. There doesn't have to be one, and it doesn't affect Anakin's prophecy by any stretch of the imagination because we don't know yet how they were created. They were like, it seemed something was manipulated for them to be created, whereas isn't Anakin just kind of born out of midi-chlorians or whatever?
I suppose it depends on again what you're following and whether it's canon. Obviously, if you follow the novelization, it was Darth Plagueis behind the scenes.
Who some people feel is this master as well. Let's not get into that just yet. That may become more with the fourth episode. But yeah, I don't know. Is it because it's all a bunch of women, and is it that's the thing. Kathleen Kennedy, I think, has come out again. I don't know if this is true. It's just something I read, because that's the other thing. I feel so many people read one or two articles, and that's for them verbatim.
Yes.
And you're like...
Yeah, and the internet's just full of that.
I'm sorry, there could be 40 to 50 articles which are just horseshit. And you've not gone out to find the right piece of information.
How many YouTube videos have you watched saying that Kathleen Kennedy's been fired?
Yeah.
For the last 6 years?
But this article said that she had come out and said that The Acolyte's getting such negative reviews because it's just male audiences who are leaving these, and they're upset and blah 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 blah. And the defense to that was, or something about because it's a female lead and blah blah blah. And their defense to that was, so was Fallout, and that was a very good, very successful show. Yeah, again, it's somewhat of an opinion, but I just don't see what that hatred was of that episode. Could that episode... I do agree. I think some people said, did we need a whole episode with that?
Yeah, I think a lot of that could have been done with flashbacks throughout the episode, seeing different bits as they progressed.
That's what we said as we were watching. Yeah. Like 15 to 20 minutes of screen time of going back to that. But at the same time, I almost feel that like what happened during that episode is kind of like the catalyst for the show, it seems.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That's what's caused May to come in and...
Yeah, and to split off and go on the path she's gone
well,
on.
the Master's obviously sending her to do this, so we don't yet know what his... what's the word I'm looking for? His...
agenda?
Agenda is, yeah, that's a good word. I think I was just thinking of another word, but agenda's a good one. You know, we don't know what he's going for yet, but he's clearly sending her to do... seemingly get revenge. We know the second Jedi guy that was killed, who was a Padawan at the time in the third episode, again, whose name kind of escapes me, but he seemed to admit that they did something wrong, and then he drank the poison in that second episode, so...
Yeah, so obviously he was spending his time there, what's the word, looking for redemption or...
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, that's why he hadn't, like, spoken to anyone or...
I mean, I assume he wasn't just, like, hanging there for 10 years. I assume he obviously take breaks and went to the toilet when he had some food.
Maybe he force manipulated his belly somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know, but... yeah, so clearly something went on, and then whatever happened there, as I said, it's kind of the catalyst. It's almost like the start point. So you do have to go to that part anyway. You know what I mean? It's not like we can't ignore what happened at this kind of time and in this scene and with these characters. But yeah, as I said, I think it could have maybe been told in flashbacks and things like that. Was it a boring episode? I wouldn't say it was. I wouldn't say it was a great television either.
No, but it seemed to kind of flow quite well. And
yeah, even like some people have said the pacing is all off. I'm like, is it? I don't know. Maybe I'm just too easy to please. Maybe we are. I don't know. But
yeah, do we just accept stuff too easily?
Too easy? I don't know. Maybe we do, but I just don't genuinely see that. It's, again, going back to Andor, I also don't genuinely see that love and adulation that Andor gets. I personally... I think Andor is a very good show. And I see a lot of people also saying for The Acolyte that like it can't redeem itself. Even if the next 4 episodes are great, it doesn't matter. It had a crap... And I'm like, that's the, again, biggest load of horse shit I've ever seen. Because... fair enough, it was already established, but you look at Breaking Bad, that final season, everybody said that first half of that final season was boring as hell. And then everyone said the last 8 episodes or the last half of the final season was peak television, edgy television. So, I'm sorry, the second half can be. BoJack Horseman, that's probably got to be one of the most famous ones, because it's like they changed tack from halfway through the season.
But they probably had that ability because it hadn't been finished then.
Yeah.
Presumably this is all being completed and done.
But BoJack changed people's way of reviewing shows at the halfway point. So yeah, that's not fair, because the second half of the first season of BoJack Horseman was probably 4 billion times better than the first half. It can happen. And I'm sure there's tons of other shows and things where it's done this. And there's others, don't get me wrong, who've gone the other way. I think Dexter, True Blood, went on.
You were going to say Game of Thrones season 8?
Well, yeah. That definitely went a bit wrong. But Dexter, the first 4 seasons were great. After that, I mean, we're getting seasons more as opposed to like one whole season where kind of things change. But Andor, to me, I found the first half of Andor so-so. The second half, fantastic. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. But everyone's sort of like Andor is this kind of masterpiece. And it's like, it's kind of like one extreme to the other. This is a masterpiece and The Acolyte is dreadful, awful. And I'm like, for me, I'm kind of more like here with the 2 shows, you know what I mean? Andor very good. This is decent at the moment. And people saying how it can't be redeemed with the second half of the season. What a load of crap. Of course it can. Of course it can. But yeah, 3rd episode then... I don't know. Let me know. Let us know in the comment section below. Like, if you guys really hated it, like, why? What issues do you have with it? I'd seriously be interested to know.
Yeah. Was it the acting? Was it the storyline?
Yeah.
Is it the whole prophecy thing, which obviously may not even be affected depending on what they're actually.
We've got to allow it to finish. That's the other thing. The show is is somewhat a detective show, right?
It's kind of unfolding the mystery of really what happened.
Maybe detective's the wrong word, because it's not... it maybe started out as a detective because they were trying to see who this assassin was, and then we found out very quickly. Yeah, the whole sisters thing, is it a bit of a cliche? Was it obvious? I'd probably agree.
Yeah, because I got a...
Yeah, as a joke. I
was, she's got a twin sister, and it was like, oh, actually, yeah, she does.
Yeah, that I'll agree. It's not the most creative thing, you know. The only other thing they could have done, though, is she has some kind of memory lapse or something.
Yeah, or like split personality.
Weird thing, and I'm sure people would have complained about that, though, as well, saying, oh, that's obvious. And then it's like, well, may as well then just have a different show. Which I'm sure some people actually will say, yeah, I just want a different show.
But yeah, at least it for me, it was kind of cleared up quite quickly. At least they didn't drag that element out of having...
for sure. That the characters didn't know.
And there was like something going on that, at least they kind of wrapped that up, because I think that could have gone on too long otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. So now it's an element of, like, we need to stop her, and now it's going to be, seemingly we need to learn what happened. You know, did the Jedi do something awful? Did, you know, did the Master manipulate something at that time period? Because... again, we don't know what his agenda is. He obviously knew about this because he's sending her out now.
You're, of course, assuming he's a he.
True. Yeah. We've said. Yeah, even the body shape. Well, that leads us in, I guess, let's go into the 4th episode then, which I probably thought was the best so far. Shorter. I think it's about 10 minutes shorter than the second shortest episode, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like 30, I think it was like 34, 35 minutes, something like that. Probably even less without the credits. Credits are about 2 minutes long, so about a 30-minute episode. They go again looking for this Wookiee, and it's her May's next target, and the Jedi are going to stop her. And the Wookiee has a big slash across his chest.
When May gets there.
So it's almost made to look like she's done it. But then, because that's what I thought they were going with. It's like, okay, now she's
going to get her redemption, or...
Well, more like she's been framed, essentially.
Yes.
But then the room started to go dark, and I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. But that was weird, because the room went dark and then nothing happened. So at the same time, as long as that was cool, or not, like, with it being cool, he wasn't in the real... It wasn't whoever the Master is. They weren't in the room. And I thought she was going to be framed, but then the Master did appear. Well, I assume it's the Master.
Yeah, well, yeah, it could just be another acolyte.
Yeah, because you said it had like very Knights of Ren kind of vibes with the outfit.
Yeah, like the helmet especially like looked very, very kind of Knight of Renish.
Yeah, but the use of... The reason I kind of suspect it's the Master is the use of power. It literally blows like 5 or 6 Jedi, which surely a kind of general underling surely wouldn't have that much power.
Yeah,
or if they do, then the Master would be
even more powerful.
Stupid, seriously, Thanos Infinity Gauntlet level power. You kind of think maybe that's going a bit far. But...
But as you were saying earlier, getting onto the body shape, it does look like it is a man.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to tell really at this point, because obviously we know her, the other person she's with on the planet as well. We don't really know what his exact deal is.
He said he has some deal with a Master. Or
whatever, but at the same time, you could kind of see he's like slightly manipulating her.
For sure, yeah.
Into certain things, so it's, for all we know, he's the Master. But that would be a pretty poor reveal, I think. I mean, people would hate
especially
that.
I think I would hate that, to be honest.
In the next episode, he just takes the helmet off and
Well, hate's a strong word, but I would think it's pretty lame.
Yeah.
Like, just...
But it definitely seems like he knows more than what he's telling her, I think. But,
but he seems like a middleman to me, almost, to like whatever these deals with this Master or whatever's going on. Again, it's a mystery story. It's
exactly, because we have yet to learn, is the Master actually a Sith?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it just another dark Force user? Or...
Well, this person's definitely a Force user,
yeah.
And they wield a red lightsaber, and he blasts the Jedi away, or they blast the Jedi away, I should say. Again, we don't know he or she, and they then jump in, and that's how the episode ends. Yeah. And that's what left me thinking, that was quite good. I want to see what's going to happen next.
Hopefully it doesn't just cut to black. And...
Yeah, but I thought that was personally a decent cliffhanger.
Yeah, no, I thought that was very good. The one thing that I got a bit upset about was that they killed the Wookiee off so quick.
Oh yeah,
I would have liked to have seen
what a bit of battle.
A Force,
yeah,
sensitive Wookiee doing.
Yeah, because we've not quite. I don't think we've ever seen
not in
live action.
No, not in live action. No.
But
I was really kind of looking forward to that. To see him battle somebody.
I think as well the Wookiee again, whatever the. I'm pretty sure the name begins with K, but we only watched the episode this morning. Yeah. Again though, I do not. As we said, we're not Disney defenders. That is one thing I have found with some of their shows and things. It's like, these names. I think you mentioned it earlier, like the OG Star Wars stuff. You had Luke and Ben.
Yeah, the main characters are all one-syllable names.
Yeah,
it's very easy to remember.
We've got hyphenated.
But I kind of think that kind of came in with the prequels.
It did. Well, we saw Ki-Adi-Mundi had a cameo. I mean, Ki-Adi-Mundi, we've known about him now for years, so it's easy to now know.
Yeah,
He's been in so much media.
Obviously, I don't even think he was named in the films.
No, I don't believe so.
Nobody ever refers to him as that character. And I think that's the thing with with the old, sort of the original trilogy characters, you only got their names once the toy was produced.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And even then, you probably might not known how to pronounce it.
They weren't named characters in the
probably
film.
Even in the credits of the film, it was in the books that came afterwards and
when it expanded upon
exactly
the whole Star Wars universe for sure.
So getting now back to these new movies with these newer names. Obviously, I guess they're trying to keep it in that Star Wars. Themed thing of names. Maybe there's a Star Wars name generator they use to pick these names.
It could be.
But again, they've given the main, essentially the main Jedi and the main female character have got very simple names.
Yeah, again, and maybe like Rey, Finn.
Yeah,
maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but it's just and to be fair, again, this is 4 episodes in. You know, did we know? I don't know, The Office. Do we know who Angela, Kevin, and Oscar and Stanley were after the first 4 episodes of The Office? I don't think I did, to be honest. And that's a show we've literally only started watching the last couple of months, right?
Yeah, the US Office.
Yeah, the US Office, which may be controversial. I think I prefer to the UK one, to be honest, but that's just me. So yeah, we're at the halfway point. 4 more episodes to go. Again, I think I've harped on about this quite a lot. Mystery thriller, and these types of shows, it's that thing that kind of keeps you guessing and keeps you enthralled. And for sure, you know, I would say The Acolyte probably hasn't done that, but at the same time, I don't think it's a 1, 2, 3 out of 10 show either. I definitely could have been better in keeping you a bit more intrigued. Where's this kind of story going and things like that. And typically when you get these, like the Harlan Coben stuff, it's kind of like that, right? You're like, oh yeah, I need to watch the next episode, how's it going? And then maybe the ending's massively disappointing. You're like, oh, that's a rubbish crap reveal or whatever. And, you know, that would be one thing I hope The Acolyte almost, maybe if people say, oh, it's not good, and then we have a great reveal or something, that would be nice. And then maybe it ends up, hopefully people going, you know what, it actually wasn't that bad.
Or it's redeemed itself in some people's eyes, hopefully.
Redemption or something. I don't think it will happen. Sadly, it's not just Star Wars though, any big fan base, you know, wrestling I see it a lot, anime I see it, fandoms can be very toxic, unfortunately. You know, there is that saying that no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans, which it's a sad thing, and the whole, you know, I guess we should probably look to start wrapping this up. I think we've got
quite a long time
discussion, but I don't know, these people who are saying, you know, Star Wars is dead, Disney have killed Star Wars, that's it, I'm out, blah blah blah. Like, Disney are going nowhere. Disney Star Wars is going to carry on, and if you want to leave it, but leave it fully. Don't continue making videos on it, making yourself money, spreading whatever hatred or lies and things that we see so many people do. You know, that's an abusive relationship, isn't it? If you hate something, get out. You don't carry on. But no, you're going to carry on because you're going to keep making money. I'm not saying you can't criticize something you love. Of course you can. There's always going to be things that are disappointing. Name me a perfect movie where for every single second you were enthralled, or a TV show, or a video game. Of course, going back to masterpieces, there are 10 out of 10 things. But there's always going to be one thing in there where you're like, yeah, or one episode.
Something that just you didn't click with, or
Breaking Bad had that. I think I've always thought Breaking Bad is the best. A lot of people think it. I agree. I think Breaking Bad is the best. It's my favourite TV show. But that goddamn fly episode, that was annoying. That was crap. What was the point of it? And if Breaking Bad can have that crap episode, you know what? So can so many other things, right? And then you get those people who are saying like the Star Wars fandom is actually united in their kind of hatred and anger of this show. I'm like, these people must think the Star Wars fan base is very minuscule, because like the comments and things, don't get me wrong, yeah, they're reaching into the thousands, tens of thousands, maybe across all of social media, maybe in the hundreds of thousands. But if you're trying to tell me the Star Wars fandom is 100,000 people globally, then I'm sorry, it's like within the top 5 biggest IPs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it even 2 or 3? I think I looked it up. I know Pokemon for sure is number 1. I'm pretty sure Star Wars is without question in the top 10, maybe even top 5 franchises and IPs and whatever of all time. So there's like millions around, hundreds of millions around the globe. So
But I always kind of feel that's the way things are, though. You always kind of get more negative.
Absolutely, yeah.
Things. There's so many people, probably like us, that are more laid back, that just don't even comment or might not even jump on these things.
I mean, I can take that back to my job that I had for years. You know, I was doing removals in the service industry, and a lot of our, you know, KPIs, like key performance indicators with your accounts, and even your bonuses would be based on, you know, getting feedback scores and reaching a particular feedback score. And that's the thing, if something went wrong, you could, you know, bet your ass you're going to get a negative score. Like, you know, they're going to come back every single time to say,
well, even if everything went perfectly, so
and
one small thing and that's it, the whole thing is negative.
Yeah, some people were a bit more
forgiving.
Yeah, or like realistic.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the end of the world. But for sure they were going to come back and tell you about it. Now, if the job went just fine, you could have a struggle actually getting a feedback score. Like, you still did the job and it was good. And that's the thing. I think we are in that kind of realm where if it meets our expectation, do I really need to give a review? I mean, I'm a horrible reviewer.
Yeah.
Amazon, all these people coming saying, I'll leave a review. I'm like, can't really be asked, to be honest. And I think that's the same when you look on social media. The biggest, or I should say the loudest people are the ones who are the negative and are the upset. I think that is like natural kind of human behavior, let's say. Unless something really goes above and beyond, you're not almost going to leave a review or positive feedback.
Go on I actually disagree. I love this. It's really good. Blah blah.
Which is sad. Well, I think there's an element as well. Like the loudest will always, you know, when people do come and agree, you then get a whole bunch of people saying, "Oh no, I saw it with like Carly King." Because she's been going on how much she enjoys the show, and everyone's like, "You're a shill for Disney now because they're inviting you to these events and you're doing this and this and that and yada yada yada." And it's like, you can still enjoy something. It's like, if we all love the same stuff, it'd just quite frankly be a boring world, I think. But you don't have to have all this hate and anger and vitriol. You're like, as I said, those are like traits of the dark side. You like joining the dark side. Is it a case people now want to be a resistance to Disney? You know, that we are the resistance. We've become the characters that we all loved, and we now want to resist the evil empire, the galactic empire.
Yeah, maybe we could start like a coalition to fund our own Rebel Alliance and buy the IP from Disney and get some writers and filmmakers.
Either way, anyway, look, we've talked about it long enough. Just to reiterate the point, we're not Disney defenders, but I'm sorry, I don't understand the hatred for The Acolyte at all. Is it the greatest piece of television ever made? Far from it. Is it the worst piece of television ever made? Far from it. So, yeah, I don't know. Let us know in the comments section below, though, guys. Please do keep it, like, don't be crass. Don't just say, oh, it's dog shit, it's crap. Like, give constructive feedback, no? Let us know what does really annoy you about this show. And for sure, if people like it, let us know what do you like about the show as well. Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else as well.
No, I think you've just about covered it there.
Yeah. And well, there we go, guys. That brings us to the end of this episode. We certainly appreciate this was a much longer one. I think it was a pretty decent discussion as well.
I think so, yeah.
We hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, as I said, do drop some comments below. Let us know your thoughts on the show, your thoughts on Disney, Star Wars, all that jazz, all that fine stuff. Just, again, keep it... I don't know, PG's the right word, just don't be crass.
Civil.
Civil's a good word, be civil. And we of course have plenty more Star Wars goodness on the way for you guys. We drop new episodes every single Tuesday. Today was just a special video for Wednesday because we of course had to watch The Acolyte episode 4 first to be able to discuss and drop this video. But yeah, regular scheduled programming comes back next Tuesday. Make sure you stay tuned. What is the easiest way to stay tuned, you ask? It's very simple. Subscribe, hit click, smash that subscribe button and enable those notifications so you don't miss out on any future content. Guys, thanks again for watching today's video, and as always,
may the Force be with you.